Hey, good morning, everyone that's in one of my classes for the spring semester 2021. I thought I'd put up a introductory video about me and about class expectations and about hopefully your your time at Mount Wachusett Community College, whether it's in my class or any other class. Um, I think sometimes there's a huge disconnect between all of us when we're in an online class. It's just the nature of it. Even if we were doing a live presentations, which are not. I'm going to record lectures. You're going to respond. It's called an asynchronous class. It might be a little bit better if we had some live interaction. We can do that via emails if you're comfortable with, or we can always talk on the phone if you're having trouble with a topic or you want to discuss it in greater detail. But there's even somewhat of a disconnect sometimes in a traditional brick and mortar class when I'm up there in front of you. Who is this guy? What's he really all about? He doesn't know who I am, and I don't. I don't know all that much about you, and I'd like to know you better as we go forward so that I can position the class to be contextually relevant to you and to your future. Um, so just a little bit about myself so you don't have I'm not totally a mystery to you. Um, I'm Jim Corman. I'm the department chair for legal studies, political science, and history at the Mount. I think I have all three roles because the college is trying to save money and not have three different department chairs. But that's my role at the college. I've been at least legal studies department chair for 18 years, and I've been the political science and history department chair for the past 4 years, I believe. Um, I live in Brimfield. I have 7 kids. Most of them are college. I have one below me right now that's in ninth grade. He's on Zoom because of COVID, taking classes. I'm waiting for him to walk in at any minute. Um, and I live in Brimfield, Mass. I commute all the way up to Gardner to teach classes traditionally brick and mortar because I love teaching and I really do. To me, it's not really a burden at all. I originally grew up in Springfield, Mass. Much of my family still lives in Springfield, Mass. My sister, my brother, my mother, who's still alive. Um, it sounds terrible saying it like that, doesn't it? But nonetheless, my educational background, I have an associate's degree from a community college, Springfield Technical Community College, which I'm going to talk mostly about in this little introductory discussion. And I have a bachelor's degree from history from Springfield College out in Springfield, Mass. And I have a master's degree in history from Worcester State, um, right here in our local community, not too far from the Mount. And I have a Juris Doctorate or a doctorate degree in law from Western New England University, also in Springfield. I didn't go that far for all my educational pursuits. One of the exceptions, I actually liked living with my parents. If I didn't have kids in my own life, I'd probably still be living at home to this day because I didn't think it was all that bad. But nonetheless, I want to talk to you about the educational experience. I know what it's like to feel intellectually, um, well, almost a feeling of inadequacy. Did I really belong in college? I didn't think I was college material as an entering student at Springfield Technical Community College, the sister institution to Mount Wachusett Community College. Um, I didn't feel like I was college material. I came from a very working class background. My dad was a plumber. My grandfather was a plumber. And I planned on becoming a plumber. But at the time, to get into the apprenticeship program and to study the skills related to becoming a plumber, I had to be another year older. And so my father recommended I go down to STIC. We called it STIC, Springfield Technical Community College, take some classes, prove my life, that kind of stuff. And I felt very much alone and very isolated and very foreign when I was at that institution. I didn't feel like I was college material. The classes I signed up for, I believe they were English Comp 1, sociology, psychology, anthropology, and a math class. Other than the math class, I saw no relationship to becoming a plumber. I really didn't. I didn't think developing critical thinking skills, being able to read and write better, being able to perform tasks in a timely fashion, to do some research, would ever have any bearing in my own life. But it certainly does. But I didn't think so at the time. So in the process of going there, I felt over time even more and more isolated, more and more like I didn't belong there, and less engaged. I was doing okay academically. I was getting some pretty decent grades in quizzes and short homework assignments and things of that nature. But then along came the midterms, and I did okay in most classes except one specifically. I remember it was an anthropology class, and I did okay. I passed, but I did very poorly on one section. The professor near the end of the class says we're going to break about 10 minutes early so students can come up and talk to me about their exams if they have any questions. So I'm very shy by nature, and I know you guys may not think so. Those of you that have me for live classes may not think so either. But it's a bit of a facade the way I behave in terms of my being able to present information. I am internally very, very shy and very introverted. Decided to go up anyway, so I wanted to find out why I did so bad in this one section, didn't understand some material. The professor said quite boldly, what seems to be the problem? And I said, well, I did poorly in this section. He goes, right, you did. You did very poorly in that section. I said, well, I just don't remember seeing in any of the area of the text that I studied. I thought I studied fairly well, and I always came to class. And she says, well, those questions, all of those questions that you did poorly in, came from the supplemental recommended readings that I had on the syllabus. And being a little bit defensive, I said, well, those were recommended readings. Those weren't required. And I always remember her answer, and perhaps she was just trying to be funny, and perhaps she was just trying to be humorous, but I took it very hard when she said, the next time I make a recommendation, perhaps you should comply with it or follow through on it. And all the students that were gathered around her laughed, and so did she. Well, I laughed politely, but I was hurt, and I never forgot that. And I left that class, went to my next class, which was sociology, and the professor there was talking about the paper that I was going to be doing in 2 weeks. This guy was a great professor, and had no problems with him. It actually made me feel very comfortable in class, but the limitation I felt in his class was I never really wrote a paper before like that. I never did research on my own. I didn't know what was really expected, and not to pick on him, but he didn't really give me a lot of clarity in what was expected in the paper, like a rubric or an outline or an example. And so I felt very intimidated about that coming up. And it was worth like 25% of our grade. And I remember some students asking questions about what the expectations were. They were feeling probably some of the same anxiety I was. And needless to say, he just said, hey, put something together. It's a topic of your choosing related to sociology. Have fun with it. Get some credible sources. Put them together in a bibliography. I didn't even know what a bibliography was. I'll be quite honest with you when I left high school. I knew what it was. I didn't know how to make one. I didn't know how to put it together the right way. And this is before the internet, where a lot of these tools are accessible to us to learn independently. So I remember going home feeling very disillusioned about college. Didn't know why I was there. Didn't like being there. And needless to say, a perfect storm kind of happened. I got the flu, and I was out the entire next week. I was deathly ill. And just before snail mail, so I couldn't contact the faculty. And I probably wouldn't have because of my nature. I didn't reach out and didn't call. I didn't do anything, and tried to keep up with what I thought would be the readings based upon the syllabi that they had given me. And I felt more and more apprehensive about going back after that final week. And sure enough, in snail mail, traditional mail, got the letter about signing up for classes for next spring, but also the last day to withdraw without receiving a grade. Because back then you said you receive a grade if you withdrew later, like you withdraw C or withdraw B or withdraw F. But if you withdrew by that next following Monday or Tuesday, you just received a W on your transcript. And this great epiphany came over me as I was feeling better over that weekend. I went to school on Monday morning, went right to the registrar's office, and withdrew from all my classes. It wasn't for me. I felt very, very happy that I had done that. I felt great for about 3 or 4 days. I really did. A huge monkey was off my back. The weight of the world was off my back. I felt like I took the wrong path. It was a mistake to go to the community college or any college. And so I walked away from it. And I can remember maybe 2 or 3 weeks went by, and apparently my parents were oblivious of my schedule, so they didn't realize I dropped out, and I didn't go and tell them I dropped out. I felt a little bit embarrassed by it. But then it was Thanksgiving, and I remember my dad, my mom, and I think some aunts and uncles were over. And I remember my aunt says, how's school going? And just in a silly moment, I said, well, things are going fine. And I said it in such a way, I think, that I put up a bit of a shield to say, let's not go there kind of a thing. No more questions were really asked about it, but my dad sent something right away. After dinner, and just talking aside, he says, hey, what's going on with school? I said, Dad, I dropped out. I always want to be a plumber. I don't understand how this English comp stuff and anthropology and sociology is going to help me. And I'm pretty decent in math, and I did well in high school in math. And I said, I'm going to pick up all that stuff at plumbing school when I get to go there. I always remember his reaction was one of being supportive, but also one of being disappointed. He thought that the college would have benefited me a great deal if I'd stuck with it. And his disappointment really, like emotionally struck a chord with me. I felt terrible. And then, of course, my friends all come home for Thanksgiving break. They went away to universities and college. Not all of them. Some of them worked in trades. But when they came back and were all asking me how college is, we got together, and of course, so I dropped out. And all of them had like a similar reaction to my dad. They felt bad for me. And suddenly it started eating away at me. And it bothered me for months, to be quite honest with you. Disturbed me greatly. I lost a lot of self-confidence in my intellectual ability and my ability to persevere and get through stuff. And then it ate away at me so much that that following spring semester, not January, but we had these mini semesters at STIC, Springfield Technical Community College, that you have here at the Mount too. It started in March, I believe, right around St. Patrick's Day. I got one of these flyers in the mail, and I could take English Comp during this mini semester starting in March, ending in late May. And I took it. I have my transcript right back here from Springfield Technical Community College, and I worked my butt off one class at night. And I went every day with apprehension, with fear, anxiety that I still wasn't smart enough, I wasn't good enough, I didn't belong in college. And I had a very good professor at the time, and she made me feel a bit more supported, a little bit more part of that classroom community. She was very good at that. And I worked very, very hard, and I got a B. And I'm very proud of that B. It's actually the lowest grade I ever got at Springfield Technical Community College, but it's also the most important because I stuck to it. And I went and took a summer class with that same professor. Got a B plus over that summer, went back full time in the fall, and the rest is sort of history. I kind of stuck to it. But I never lost that sense of fear, and I never lost that sense of animosity to being in the classroom. And the only thing that I think can change that is for those of you that sometimes feel that way, that disconnect, that maybe I don't really belong here, or I don't understand an assignment, or there's no way I'm going to meet this deadline, is knowing that I am of you. I'm just a regular guy, average intelligence, with the same fears and anxieties that you probably have. And I want to try to alleviate as much of that as I can. If there's issues at work, at home, or understanding the course content, don't be afraid to reach out. And I'm not saying this because I have this glorified Rocky, I fought back and I overcame all kinds of obstacles to have an academic success story. That's not what this little spiel is about. The spiel is about the failure and the walking away from an opportunity. And some of you will have this feeling, I imagine, during the course of your studies, where you're going to feel that this isn't going to help me. This isn't related to what my career goals are. It's not for me. I'm wasting my time. I should be out working. But the reality is all of my educational background, the CJ degree, criminal justice degree, I have a history degree, I have a law degree. I think those things help me assess everything in my life with a little bit more critical thought, with a little bit more reflection, with a little bit better ability to find answers to problems that I get confronted with. I think education serves a purpose in and of itself. I really do. I spent 3 years at Springfield Technical Community College. Somebody say, well, he's not too bright. Well, I spent 3 years because I switched majors from general studies for 2 years. And then my third year, I took criminal justice because I had a lot of history and law involved in it. And I liked that stuff. I didn't want to be a police officer, though. And when I left there, I wish I had a copy of the book in this room. It's somewhere. I just moved to this home fairly recently, and I can't find it. But it's Cycles in American History by Arthur Schlesinger Jr. He was the press secretary to John F. Kennedy. And when I left there, my friend gave me that book because he went there too. I met him there actually, and in the second year. The first year I felt like I was friendless. Third year I didn't have a lot of friends, but I had one guy I kind of became friends with. They gave me that book, and we both wanted to come back and teach at Springfield Technical Community College because we fell in love with learning, because we had a few better professors later on, but we developed a sense of just keep moving forward and get through the classes that you don't always like, and ask for help when you need it. And if you can do those things, you'll find you'll get through it too. And so ultimately my dreams came true. I wanted to become a community college professor, and now I am. It's kind of a roundabout way to getting there, but I did get there. So my point about you is when you're in this class, and if you're feeling academically lost, or you feel like you don't understand an assignment, or those moments are going to happen too, where you're saying, crap, I had a deadline for Corman's class. It was midnight on Sunday night, such and such a night. I've had all these family issues come up, or work issues, or I just screwed up and I didn't do it. Reach out. I want you to stay with it. I want you to stick with it. And if you're going to find that community college or any college isn't your experience, isn't beneficial for your experience in the long run, well, make that decision after the semester's over and you finish the classes. Be surprised if you come back later on and you're going to want those credit hours. They're going to be beneficial to you. You're going to use them for something. And I think if you just have that ability to reach out and feel that you're welcome, and that we're in an academically and emotionally safe environment, and there's no such thing as a dumb question. And I think this is true of all the faculty members of the Mount. Yeah, maybe there's a few oddballs there. I don't know. I know I'm oddball in other ways, but I'm not an oddball in the sense that I do want you to reach out with any questions. I had a student for the longest time was having a hard time. Finally, she reached out to me and she goes, I don't know where I'm supposed to submit homework. I don't know what the homework assignment is. She didn't even realize that she had to go in through Blackboard. It's not because she was intellectually inferior. She just never took an online class. She didn't know she had to. That was back when we had a different portal where you had to get through into the Blackboard courses outside of the Mounts website in the very early era of our online courses. And it was a real horror show for her. But luckily, she finally reached out fairly early on, and we got her back on track, and she did very, very well in the course. Everyone can do well in the courses that I teach. I think everyone can do well in any course. If you do the work, you stick to it, and if you start falling behind, or you start getting lost, or you start having personal, financial, or other problems, and you let the faculty members know, you'll do much better than you think. Believe me, if I can do it, you can do it. And I'm not saying that in the sense of trying to give myself some kudos that I went as far as I did with my education. It's about the time that I failed. I don't want you to go through that experience. I want you to have some success, and the Mount's a great place to get it. And the other thing that I just talk about a little bit as an aside is something to say, well, I'm at community college. It's not real college. It's like the high school on the hill or something. That's what we used to call Springfield Technical College, because the high school I went to was literally just below it on a hill in Springfield, Mass. We used to call it the high school on the hill because community colleges always had a bad reputation. Open admission. Anybody can go. You can be a rock star in terms of intellectual and academic ability, or you can be someone that doesn't even have a high school diploma. Well, the reality is you can, the old slogan, I don't think it is for the Mount anymore, I wish they kept it, start here and go far. And that's true. I know many of my colleagues that are lawyers, I still practice law, have a community college background, and it served them very well. And I don't have my diplomas here. I collect political memorabilia. That's some of my buttons. But I have all those diplomas, and the one that I take the greatest pride in, and I'm not BSing you to try to sell something, because I don't get any more money if you stay in the class. I don't get any less money if you leave. None of that's relevant. I'm telling you honestly from my heart that the community college was the most important degree for me, because it's the salt of the earth. It's that baseline foundation of fundamental critical thinking skills, learning a little basic research, learning how to write better. All of those things were developed at the community college. Take advantage of it. Save yourself a ton of money. And guess what? When I'm in court and I win a case or I lose a case, someone doesn't turn to me and say, which college did you come from? It's all about delivering outcomes. And you're going to do fine if you stick with your educational path. And I think you should take advantage of the affordability of the mountain. I think you got some great professors there. And the most important thing is, what are you going to do? You're not going to be afraid to reach out for the support that you need for your academic success. And I just want to let you know that I'm here. I know it's a rah, rah, rah. I don't know. It sounds like a cliche. Let me get you on board and get you happy, get you excited. But you should be. And when you're not, and you're feeling disconnected, shoot me a text, give me a call, shoot me an email, and I'm going to try to help you get through the semester and maybe beyond. All right. So be well. And I think I put up in all the others, I want a quick confirmatory email that you're on the class, that you've looked through things, that you don't see any grievous errors on my end, that I'm missing something, and that you understand what's expected of you and how to do it. And if any other questions are on your mind, don't be afraid to reach out. Otherwise, be well, and I'll see you guys soon. Well, maybe I won't see you, but I'll hear from you soon.